Paine made sure the tarp was completely closed as the winds of the snowstorm buffeted their hideaway spot, which has been insulated since early November to keep the place warm. As Paine stepped inside, she saw Seifer standing on the edge of his office, arms crossed, stance rigid.
I didn't expect to see you here. I thought you would be home. I'm grabbing the things I need for it.
Paine's words morphed into a yell as Seifer suddenly sped forward and grabbed her by the neck.
Seifer, what are...
Don't you think I heard what you did? What the hell were you thinking?
Can't breathe.
Seifer dropped Paine to the ground and kept his critical gaze on her.
That little stunt with the car, Paine! You landed someone in the hospital! You told me you wouldn't put any innocence in the way when you signed up.
Paine massaged her throat.
Such a shame, too. She's probably a hideous mess right now. Her blood-caked face will now match her red hair.
She? What? Wait. You think Kairi Nomoru was the victim? Is that who you were going for?
Yes, she's probably hooked up to some IV or something right now. And wait, what did you mean by who you were going for?
Seifer didn't respond at first. He crossed the room instead and pulled out a small set of flowers. They looked to have been bought from one of the bouquets in town. He shoved them into her hands.
You're gonna need these for when you visit Sora. He's probably hooked up to an IV or something right now.
As Paine's expression of horror formed, Seifer leaned in close and said with venom,
If you ever pull a stunt like that again, you'll be joining them in the next hospital bed. Got it?
Wait, Seifer, this wasn't supposed to happen.
Paine's defense fell on deaf ears as Seifer walked away from her.
It wasn't supposed to happen. Seifer, you have to believe me. Seifer!
Hello? Yes, I am Sora Shimomura's uncle. What? Is he alright? Alright, I am on my way.
Vincent hung up the phone and quickly rushed for his closet, grabbing a set of street clothes that he set aside for his public appearances. As he grabbed his clothes, his eye stopped on a small box in the corner, where he would keep fake IDs in case of an emergency. And then he thought about the last time he opened the box and became lost in the memory.
Huh? You?
Vincent was surprised to see him again. The young man, barely out of his 20s, stormed into the room dragging in hand a woman around his age too with coppery brown hair. Vincent quickly checked outside and closed the door, turning to the two of them. The woman he had never seen before and put him on alert. As the man was catching his breath, she turned to Vincent.
You're Vincent Valentine, huh? I heard about you.
She held her hand out to shake his. Vincent looked at it, reached out, and handcuffed her to one of the pipes on his wall.
Hey! What are you doing?
Vincent, wait! Don't!
The man yelled, moving to them when Vincent pulled his gun out.
Turn around! Get on your knees! Hands on your head!
Oh, Jesus, Vincent, I'm not!
Do it!
Vincent lowered the man to his knees and began checking him over.
Run into any of my old friends by any chance? Did they send you here?
God damn it, Vincent, I'm not a vampire, neither is she!
The woman in question pulled on the pipe she was handcuffed to long enough before it finally came loose.
If I see one bite mark...
Vincent was cut off when the woman brought the pipe to his sides. She got a good 3 hits in before the man grabbed the pipe out of her hands and got in between the two of them.
Alright, enough! Stop it! Alright. Are you done?
Am I? You come into my place, you blow my cover by being here, and who the hell is she?
I'm none of your goddamn business. We're here because you owe him some favors, and you can start by getting these off.
She held her arm up where the handcuffs were still on.
Look, just let me handle this, okay? Look, Vincent, we need a set of IDs and a car.
You... this has to be a joke. You of all people need a... What, are you running or something?
We need to get out of town. Quickly.
Oh, you do, huh? Well, that's just tough luck, really. Really, I feel so bad for you. Yes, sure, take my IDs, take my car. Why don't you go and hang a big neon sign outside that says, Vincent Valentine lives here?
That actually sounds like a good idea. Why the hell are we talking to this asshole?
Roxy, sweetie, Roxanne.
The man took Roxanne by her arms and attempted to console her rising anger.
No! Don't tell me what to do! He handcuffed me!
Listen, I need you to be calm for me, okay? Can you do that? I can handle this. You have to be calm, okay? We're gonna be alright. We're going to get through this.
Roxanne nods her head and the man embraces her as her fears spill over to sobs.
It's gonna be okay, alright? It's okay. Everything is gonna be fine. Just, okay, don't. It's gonna be alright.
Is it really that bad?
Yes.
Vincent gave a heavy sigh, pulling out a small box.
Do you have pictures for me?
Yeah, they're right here.
The man handed Vincent a set of small pictures. Vincent pulled out 2 cards from his box and began to work on them. His gauntlet would crackle with a strange light as he worked. A job that would take a few hours suddenly became a few seconds, as he handed the 2 of them a set of driver's licenses and the key to the cuffs on Roxanne's hand. After unlocking the cuffs, the 2 of them looked over the licenses.
Shimomura? Seriously?
Well, that was quick. I didn't even realize you had one for a guy and a girl.
That one was for someone who... Never mind. It doesn't matter. You got what you needed. As for a car, I don't have one, so I can't help you.
Roxanne turned to leave the house, but the man stayed in his spot.
Vincent, come with us.
What?
What are you?
Come on, Vincent. We both know your friends haven't been able to find you since I have been in town. Just imagine this. You come with us, you can escape. They won't even know you're gone. They won't even come after you as long as I'm in the city. Imagine. Whole city to yourself and not have to be hunted by your old friends. Come on, come with us.
And where would I go? In your basement? Hiding away like a pet?
I actually had something a little better in mind. A clock tower.
You're joking.
No, legit. They have one, still standing up in that city. Perfectly abandoned. It's just an old relic that people barely register. Come on, what do you say?
Vincent looked at the 2 of them for a moment, before reaching back into his fake ID box and pulled out a set for him.
Alright, let's go.
Roxanne gave a scoff of disgust, but didn't say anything else as the 3 of them began to head out the building.
Roxanne, one other thing.
Roxanne turned her head to him, but continued walking.
If you really want to hide, lose the accent.
Hey, Vincent. You still with me?
Vincent snapped out his memories as Sora Shimomura walked behind him into the clock tower. Retrieving him from the hospital wasn't an issue. His powers as a Ghost Rider healed his wounds quickly, and the doctor seemingly ignored Cloud's initial diagnosis of broken ribs due to his inexperience. Sora had made the choice to call him rather than his mother to avoid her from suspecting. Of course he didn't know she already knew, but it wasn't like Vincent was going to be forthcoming with this information.
Sorry, I was lost in thought.
Yeah, I noticed. So what's going on? Did you get any leads on Vanitas?
I might have.
Vincent began to head up the steps.
Great. The stairs. Seriously, an elevator, an escalator, hell, even a pulley system wouldn't hurt you at this point.
Yeah. Keep walking.
The long, agonizing trek up the stairs was mostly filled with Vincent explaining how he narrowed down this lead, and Sora giving groans of discomfort as his ribs ached. When they finally reached the top of the steps, Vincent pointed to his rather ancient computer in the corner that was now finishing printing something. Sora walked over to the printer and picked up the piece of paper.
Okay, let's see here.
After giving it a read, he found himself surprised.
Wait, hold on. Are you telling me that neither of the leads this morning were it? None at all?
No. Apparently, they were using these 2 events as a cover for this one. The NCRC researcher has been in town for a while already. He's been researching the amulet under the cover of one of the warehouses in El's Highway.
Sora pored over this information intently before a frown crossed his face.
Vincent, if you found this out with that record player that you call a computer, Vanitas probably already knows this.
Vincent grabbed his gun holster and a set of guns from the table.
Then let's get a move on.
He turned to walk back down the steps when he saw Sora climb out of the window down to the ledge.
What are you doing?
Yeah, you know what? To hell with your stairs. I'm taking the express elevator.
He said before leaping off the building. He dive bombed straight to street level, smoke gathering around his head before it burst into flames. Ghost Rider slamming his fist on the ground as he landed, creating a small impact landing. He stood up, cracking his neck, and summoned his health cycle. By the time Vincent made it outside, the Ghost Rider was already riding off to Hell's Highway.
Great. Now there's going to be a construction tree outside my house. Thanks for that.
If you live in Hell's Highway, you are no stranger to crime. It is to be expected that crime be a daily ritual to those who live on this cursed street. Thousands of crimes go unreported in this street, all because the people have given up even trying to reporting crimes. In theory, this makes sense to set up a secret research base in Hell's Highway, because nobody cares anymore. Of course, the downside is when your security team was just off, there's nobody who cares enough to report it in. Ghost Rider could at least breathe a sigh of relief in knowing the police would be out of his way for a while. He could see the red shape of Vincent Valentine leaping across the buildings alongside him as he drove the hell cycle to the warehouse's address, bringing the bike to a halt when he saw the bodies lying in the yard.
Looks like they were ahead of us.
Ghost Rider commented as Vincent leaped beside him.
Quite a bit ahead of us.
I sense it too.
Vincent pulled out his gun.
There's a trap ahead.
Vincent started to move forward when Ghost Rider threw his arm out to stop him.
Hold up. I can handle this ambush myself. You sneak around back and get in the warehouse. We can't let Vanitas get this amulet.
Vincent eyed Ghost Rider's chest area, recalling the injury Sora suffered this morning.
Are you even fully healed?
If Ghost Rider had facial features, they would be wincing right now.
No. Considering the fact my head is a walking matchstick, I think you would be better at stealth than me.
Fair point. Be careful. Let me know if you need help.
I won't need it.
Vincent hesitated at that confident statement, but Ghost Rider was already moving into the courtyard, too late to turn back. Vincent frowned and began to move his way around the side of the warehouse. As Ghost Rider was crossing the courtyard, the gates behind him clanged shut, first sign of an obvious trap. The second sign involved giggling. The sound of polite giggling was echoing among the walkways and pipes in front of the warehouse. Ghost Rider's red orbs darted back and forth to find a shape to this elusive laughter. He could sense movement, but he couldn't pinpoint it. Finally, someone stepped out from behind one of the metal beams. A woman wearing an outfit best suited for a Victorian governess. She had a fan in front of her face, hiding her visage. The giggles continued as more of them showed themselves from the various hiding spots.
The rats come out of the word.
Their fans morphed into long, thin blades, revealing a pale face with empty eye sockets and sharp teeth. Ghost Rider held his chain with both hands and ignited it with hellfire.
Sorry, ladies. You're not my type.
Vincent slipped into the back of the warehouse as he heard an explosion. He frowned to himself as he thought back to Sora's injuries. He was pretty convinced he wasn't fully healed, and it seemed as of late he was getting much more persistent in doing things alone. He worried for the day he might bite off more than he could chew, but he had to put those thoughts aside, so he concentrated on finding the amulet they needed. It didn't take too long for him to find it. As he was roaming the office floors, he found a hole in the side of the wall. There he saw the amulet in the middle of the factory's ground level. It was in the middle of the room, with the only working light shining down on it.
That has to be the most obvious trap I have ever seen, as well as the most useless.
Vincent's eyes shifted as he began to see into the darkness around the light. He saw the cluttered desks and papers, clearly a struggle, and he saw someone lying on the ground behind the desks. Vincent gently dropped down onto the factory floor and slowly moved over to the body. The smell of blood gave the rest away for him. He was dead. fresh kill too.
I suppose that's what I get for trying to trap a vampire.
Vincent's hand grabbed for his gun just as all the lights in the warehouse kicked on. He winced as his eyes adjusted, but once they did, he saw someone sitting upright and properly on a stack of boxes in the room. With the Victorian dress and hat she wore, Vincent thought he was back in England. The umbrella in her hand was unusual, though. It made his senses go on high alert.
Who are you supposed to be?
She tilted her hat up to show a face that was obscured by a Guy Fawkes mask.
Jane. Jane the Ripper.
Figures. Chalk one up for the American education. First off, Jack the Ripper, whose namesake you stole, was in the late 1800s. While I could be wrong, I'm going to take a guess. You chose specific clothes that appeared during the Victorian era, which those are terrible replicas, might I add, that were in the early 1900s. Lastly, that mask? Guy Fawkes was in the 1600s. Do schools even teach history anymore?
Well, okay, Smarty Pants, if you're going to be that way, I guess I will ignore how someone in bright red thinks they're stealthy.
Vincent narrowed his eyes as she stood up and began to walk on top of the rows of neatly stacked boxes.
So why are you here, vampire? Have you come to drain my blood in the pale moonlight in your big, strong arms?
Pass. I'm here for the amulet.
Vincent narrowed his eyes as she stood up and began to walk on top of the rows of neatly stacked boxes. Vincent's grip tightened on his gun as Jane the Ripper continued to speak.
Good. We think alike. Only one tiny issue, it seems. The complete amulet isn't here.
Vincent turned his head over to the case and was surprised to find the amulet in it was only half of one. It didn't look broken, but it clearly had an opposite half that was missing.
And the other half isn't there. I should know. I spent the better half of my evening trying to get that out of him.
She gestured to the dead body.
You know, I never could get into the romantic vampires. Every teenage girl I know wants all the vampires tall, dark, mysterious, and just a touch of emo. It's never been the looks of a vampire that I find myself attracted to. Would you like to take a guess?
Vincent took aim with his gun as Jane turned around with her umbrella. In those seconds, Vincent discovered why it made his senses go off. An illusion spell melted off it to reveal a blood-stained broadsword, a blade she was apparently strong enough to wield with one hand. The ends of her dress also lost a few layers, presumably to allow mobility. She dropped down to Vincent's level, and the lights above flickered as she held her blade out to him.
It's the blood.
Vincent knew then to strike, his gun giving off bright flashes in between the lights flickering on and off. Each ping let Vincent know she was able to deflect his shots. He needed to move, get away from her and keep his distance. He let off a few more shots as he leaped aside, grabbing one of the tables and throwing it at her to stall for time. It didn't work out very well and she cut it cleanly in two. It was only Vincent's metal gauntlet that saved him from her following sword slash. He winced in pain, but not from the sword. His vampire senses may be sharply tuned, but with the lights continuously flickering, his eyes couldn't adjust to either extreme effectively. It was like staring at a strobe light and being unable to shut your eyes or look away. Vincent used his free hand to cuff the side of Jane the Ripper's head. She stumbled back enough from the hit for Vincent to grab her and throw her across the room. He raised his gun to shoot her as she was down, but the lights flickered right into his eyesight, causing his eyes to burn painfully. He could hear Jane the Ripper get back on her feet and swing her sword at him again, moving out of the way only for her to get a hit on his upper chest. Vincent yelled out and thrust his foot in the direction of the slash. He could feel the impact knock her back enough for him to put distance between them again.
This isn't working. I can hit her while my eyes are trying to adjust this. If it wasn't for my ears, I wouldn't be.
There was Vincent's solution. If he couldn't rely on his eyes, he would rely on his other senses. Shutting his eyes completely, he found relief from the flickering light conditions. He put his gun away for now because he couldn't shoot blind. He could hear Jane's footsteps clack against the flooring. They paused between steps like she was trying to sneak up around him, then increased in tempo when she broke into a run. The sword was harder to track, but once Vincent could feel the air currents, he could respond in kind, his gauntlet clanging with each strike he made, deflecting the sword long enough to get in some strikes on Jane. Vincent's methods seemed to work perfectly, except for sometimes his ears couldn't catch every movement. A lucky kick to the side of his head, and suddenly Vincent found himself spinning to the ground with the blade to his back.
It seems my trap did work on you after all, vampire.
Vincent caught something with his ears underneath Jane's droning. footsteps and a metallic clinking sound. He had to fight from smiling.
I don't know why Vanitas was so worried about you guys. You're all talk.
That's a fascinating observation there.
Vincent turned his head to her direction.
Would you mind repeating it to my friend?
Vincent then swept his foot and knocked her off her feet just as Ghost Rider's chain shot out and latched around her leg. With a hard pull, he yanked her up a story higher and threw her against the wall. His chain was spinning out around her and wrapping itself tight.
You have no idea how glad I am that you also follow Vanitas' tendency to talk too much.
The lights finally stopped flickering, and Vincent relished in the ability of using his eyes again. He walked to the case and took the amulet piece out of it. Securing it in his coat, he leaped up to the others on the office floor.
Glad you could join us. I was just about to ask our date here about Vanitas.
Sorry, boys. I don't kiss and tell.
Well, that's a shame. I'm sure if we ask nicely, you will.
Vincent turned as Ghost Rider raised a hand to his side. He could see a section where his coat was damaged and a bright red line in the shape of a cut. This was exactly what Vincent was afraid of when he left him alone. This did not escape the notice of Jane either.
Aww. Does Ghost Rider need a band-aid?
Ghost Rider snapped his fingers and the chain suddenly burned bright red with hellfire, causing Jane to scream out in pain for a good 5 seconds.
If you get the band-aids, I'll get the ointment.
What are you?
Getting information now. Hang back while I work.
He gruffly cut Vincent off, kneeling down to eye level with Jane's mask.
You realize I could just remove your little mask and you can say goodbye to your soul. I'd rather not do that, though. Not yet. So perhaps we can reach an understanding.
Jane burst out into a laughter that caused Vincent to wince and Ghost Rider's eye sockets to shift like he was raising his eyebrow.
Oh, this is too funny. Come on, boys. I watch TV too. Good guys don't torture and maim for information. You're the city's hero, loved by its people, and by the mayor's beautiful daughter. You wouldn't do anything to—
She let out a garbled yelp as Ghost Rider's hands went around her throat and pulled her close.
Sorry, I just get sick of hearing you trying to label me. Let me tell you how this is going to go. You tell me about Vanitas and I burn your soul. You resist and I burn you with hellfire until you give up and trust me. Everyone talks. I don't care how long this takes. And since we're talking labels, in my eyes you're a sinner, and this is the only judgment you deserve. Because despite what the beautiful daughter of the mayor likes to believe, I am not a hero. I am a bounty hunter. You're in the middle of my prize. So you can try to sway my mind all you like, but in the end I get what I want. And you get your soul burned. Now, shall we begin?
This prelude to a dark night was cut short when a sudden screech of metal caught their attention. The two of them turned their heads just in time to see a side of the building suddenly slide apart from a diagonal cut. As it fell apart, a man leaped in. The building's rumbling caused them to lose their footing, but from what the two of them could see, he was wearing some sort of stylized armor. It was in the style of a samurai, but the design was more fitting of some sci-fi dystopian future. He grabbed the chains wrapped around Jane the Ripper and pulled them off her.
We're leaving. Let's go.
Ghost Rider and Vincent fought for their footing against the crumbling building and followed the other two outside. Ghost Rider summoned his chain and swept it downwards for an attack. The sci-fi samurai pulled his blade from his sheath and was able to block the hit. The impact sound was completely drowned out by the sound of the warehouse crashing to the ground.
You're good, Rider, but I'm just better.
If the line itself wasn't a clue, it was the aura Ghost Rider was getting from this warrior.
Paine.
He couldn't see his eyes from the red visor, but he could see the muscles move in an indication of surprise before its blade was suddenly charged with lightning and blasted Ghost Rider back. He grabbed Jane the Ripper with one arm and threw her over his shoulder. Firing a few more blasts of lightning, he leaped out of the property and began building hopping across the city. Ghost Rider moved to chase after him but stumbled in pain. He already took too many hits as Ghost Rider and as Sora earlier today.
That couldn't have been Paine. Could it? No, I destroyed him. There's nothing of him left. Damn it. We almost had him. We almost had them.
Almost?
Vincent questioned as he pulled out the piece of the amulet.
They didn't get everything.
That's the amulet. Did it break in the middle of the fight or something?
No, it appears to be like this.
He took the amulet and began to look it over.
There's the line where a second piece is supposed to connect with it then.
Vincent trailed off as he examined the piece in great detail.
Oh no.
Oh no? I don't like oh no. What's oh no for?
This is not a power booster.
He held the amulet away from him in fear.
This is not a power booster at all.
Well then what is it?
It's called the Eye of Shadows. This amulet, when put together, has the ability to undo any supernatural seal or lock, despite the conditions to unlock it.
So it's like a skeleton key?
Yeah, it can bypass any supernatural lock. If someone were to wear it, the amulet can unlock a user's true potential. So there's where the power booster thing came from. But this is bad. This is very bad.
It was then that Ghost Rider was able to catch on.
So if Vanitas gets a hold of both pieces of the amulet, he can use it to unlock Ansom's seal.
Vincent nodded gravely as Ghost Rider gave a sharp whistle. His hell cycle rode up to him, and with a slight grimace of pain, he mounted the bike.
We have one piece, though, so that's a victory for us.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Vincent nodded up until Ghost Rider had rolled the hell cycle out of the parking lot and back into the city, most likely to try and continue a fruitless pursuit of Jane the Ripper.
For now.